All righty, so we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you guys are tuning in. It's your international award-winning author, literary extraordinaire, and awe-inspiring coach, Toneal M. Jackson. And we are coming to you with another episode of Inspirational Talk with Toneal. But this time it is the powerful Black man edition. And I am so happy to be joined by the first guest to kind of kick off the season, if you will. I'm before I just say his name, I just want to give a little bit of background about him. It's
All
really
right.
crazy because within this context, when I was given like the caption, if you will, I was talking about how a lot of times people feel as though they know you just
Mhm.
because they see you on social media.
Right.
And the irony with us is the fact that I have yet to actually meet you in
Right.
person. We have done many shows together,
So
but
yeah,
everything has always been virtual.
been virtual.
We've
That's
done
it.
we've had many conversations, but we
Yeah.
have yet to actually see each other in person. But I am
Right.
so honored that you decided to say yes to being my guest on today. None other than host of Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio, Mr. Charles Dixon. Welcome, Charles. Thanks so much for
Hello,
being here.
hello, hello, and good evening, and hello to everybody. I'm actually honored to be your guest. The other side of social media is sometimes you can see people on their journey and doing what they do and what God gifted them to do, and
Mhm.
you could. There's a way that you can support people. You don't have to be all busy, but you can just be in their corner and you rooting them
Mhm.
on as they do what God put in them to do. So that's what I always see you shining when you're always helping others. You always are trying to do things to corral folks. So maybe sometimes everybody don't see that, but just be encouraged on that. I saw it.
Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Charles. I do because I think that's just a part of who I am in terms of supporting, which is why you have the whole concept of APS, artists promoting success. I'm all about promoting others and helping other people. And one of the things that I think we have in common is, wanting to make sure that we inspire people insightfully, right? Like
Right, right,
intellectually.
right.
And one, I know like so we connected a couple different ways. So
Yeah.
one of the ways we kind of knew each other was you referred to me as the book lady, right? So
Right. Yeah.
you're like
Right.
yeah, because I know
Go
I
ahead.
gotta talk to
She get the
you.
book out of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. We're
Right.
gonna talk about that book.
Right.
And then we kind of connected, we crossed paths because of coffee. So doing a
Yeah.
couple of her shows
Right.
together. And
Sir
then
Walter and all.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All.
So Walter Coffee, both of them kind of brought
Yeah.
us together.
Right.
And then I'm working on a project that will be released in February that you also agreed to
Right.
being a part of. And so we've kind of, hey, Miss Rochelle, hey, Tatara, everybody that's tuning in. Thank you, ladies, and everybody who will be tuning in. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please feel free to tag somebody that you believe would benefit from this broadcast, as well as hitting that share button. But I want to kind of just yield the floor first and allow you to introduce yourself. Like, what is it that you want for people to know about you?
Um, I definitely want to bring across like when I if I post something, if I do shows, it's always I'm always in the mindset of giving what I have inside of me, what I've been through, my experiences, and I believe in sharing up. Like if you've been through things, why not share things to other people so that they can avoid them? And so,
Mhm.
especially in the space of love and relationship and how tumultuous it is out here, and just I mean not just that space but just life in general, because everything we go through is not necessarily romantic. It's life,
Yep.
different things, that spiritual, all sorts of things. So I kind of cover all genres on that when it comes to just the ins and outs, ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, success, even downfalls. And so what I've just kind of purposed in my heart to, I've always had the slogan, let's continue to heal the world one heart at a time. So I've kind of
Mhm.
go by that. I try to come up with a lot of innovative ways to provoke thought in whatever I do. Yeah, even in song. So yeah.
See, now you brought that up, and I
Oh, I
wasn't gonna
forgot. I
bring it
should have
up.
said
I wasn't gonna bring it up.
that.
So
Right.
those are the three things that we are
Yeah.
gonna highlight with you
Okay.
about you today. So
Okay.
again, the caption was saying number one, society a lot of times will make you think that black men, there are no such thing as any good black men, right?
Right.
Like all black men are either dogs, or they're in jail, or they're doing something,
Mhm.
illegal. So we want to debunk that myth in having you here today.
Right.
And then also, I talked about how many people feel that they know you simply because they see you on social media, or
Right.
because they follow you, they like your post, they share your status, but
Right.
that's not necessarily the same as knowing you. So the
Yeah.
three aspects that I want to kind of highlight for the people today, some they know, but we're going to talk about some of the stuff that they may not know about what they think they know, right?
Correct. All right.
So we got you talked about in songs. So we're going to
Right.
talk about Charles the singer.
All
We're
right.
going to talk about Charles the author, and
Okay.
then we're going to talk about Charles the intellectual. So the
Okay.
unique perspective love talk radio host. Okay. And we're going to do it in that order.
Okay.
So Charles sings.
Okay.
Talk about that.
So I mean,
You always
that's
say that was
always
back in
something
the
that's
day. So
always in the. To be honest, that was the first thing out the gate that I've always loved to do. Like, I guess it's kind of started unconventionally for me. It's although I was raised in church, I wasn't that kid that immediately when I was born I started singing. I guess for me, I think when it started for me was kind of realizing that I was a little bit musically inclined was around 7, and I would always listen to the radio. And when I would hear, it could be, I didn't, if it was secular gospel, I would listen to it and I would always be drawn to different melodies of songs. And so what I used to always do was listen to, it could have been the Doobie Brothers, Michael Jackson, whoever. I would hear them and I would always train my ear to just find a note within their notes to blend with them. And so after a while, I got really good at it. And when I started from there, I started mimicking the songs and I could sound like them. I could do this. And so I was like, where did this come from? And so it all came to fruition one day when I want to say, at the time I was probably in my early 20s. And because I had always sung in the choir at church, but one time, this was my first time leading a song in church. This is someone had the bright idea to get me to lead a song. Now, number one, if you know me from the past, I might talk junk and laugh and joke with my friends, but when it came to put me on the spot, I was super nervous. So I had to do this song. And I remember that was like the last year. The first year I came out singing was the last year my mom was alive. And so she was at church and she was there. And so she got to hear me the first time. But I remember singing this song for this, at the time, it was the mass choir. The church had the big choir. It was the mass choir. So I sang this song and I remember everyone just stood up and their mouths dropped because they was like, we didn't know he could sing. And so from that moment on, I kept singing at church and it broke off from there to some other sister brother churches that had maybe groups that were singing at a kind of national level gospel wise. I started singing with Reston Jackson and Grace. I sung with group Predestined. I sing with it was just a number of groups I sung with outside of that. And we did everything from backing up all of the major artists to singing on Bobby Jones, BET Gospel, all kinds of things. So it was like an experience. And so from that branched out my sort of solo venture. I kind of noticed that I had a gift in producing and writing and arranging music. And so when I started doing that, it was as if God opened up heaven and said, I'm gonna throw all this at you at once. Because it's like I always tell people, when it comes to songwriting, when it comes, it comes, and when it's not, it's a drought, right? And so when it came, it was just like every day I had these notebooks and notebooks full of songs. And so then I would get my music right, then I would go into the studio, and then I just had tons of music. Well, one of my good friends, Reverend Rob, he's probably looking at this, an old school guy who, I've known virtually but never met him. He's in Virginia Beach, but he encouraged me to actually jump out the box because he said, man, because he and I would always trade music. Listen to this, and he said, listen, I already told you I think you're great. I love your songs, but he said it's not doing you a world of good just listening to your own music and me listening to it. He said, go ahead and release it. He said, go ahead and release the music and stop being afraid. And because let's go. I'll go a little transparent. There is a flip side to being talented and singing and even being halfway attractive, right? It comes with other things. And so when you start doing that, I believe for me, most of my fear was to jump out there and to say, okay, I have this gift, I have this talent, and as they may say, you could be anointed. But
Mm-hmm.
if you jump out there and if you're kind of ill prepared spiritually, you can open yourself up to a lot, a lot. And so for me, it went from me doing it, and I like to do things. Anything I do, I want to do with excellence. So I don't want to have
Mm-hmm.
nothing, right? So, I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing all these professional pictures, videos, all these things. And so with all of that came all these opposite sex fanfare. And so with that comes it goes from you being rigid initially to you getting comfortable, and then you just like, yeah, I'll be in St. Louis next week, you doing all this stuff, and so you doing everything carnal as opposed to spiritual. And so after a while it begins, if you really had something spiritual inside of you, it'll bother you, it'll convict you, and it will kind of situate you to kind of adjust your life to say, listen, I can't keep doing this way if I'm not going to really hold to what I'm really singing about. And so that's when I noticed the shift in my music, and it started going towards very personal one-on-one music. It was like it wasn't your typical Hammond organ and slow or foot stomping gospel. It was, I wanted to find music that maybe the secular ears loved, but I could fine tune them with a spiritual message.
So kind of like a contemporary gospel type of thing.
Correct. And so what I would do was I would try to relate with saying, okay, even though you may be in church or you may be singing gospel, you're still a human. You're not holier than thou. So keep it 100 and just sing about what's going on in your life. And so a lot of my music catered to like repentance. It catered to like personal worship. It catered to like questioning things to God, different things. And so I noticed that when I started to lead with that kind of honesty in my music, it drew a lot of people. And so I found solace in that. And so 8 albums later, I kind of did that. And I was like, this was a great, fun experience. I do miss it. I think about it a lot. And to be quite honest with you, even though I started enjoying this, like you said, the author slash, public speaker type thing, I'm constantly reminded of the music aspect. And I look at it like, I feel like it's God reminding me, listen, okay, I know you want to do what you want to do, but I still put this in you to do this. So don't abandon that gift. So probably going to be working on some music soon. But anyway.
Well, you know what? And you know what's crazy is that I say all the time, people think of you or think that you're only who they are at the season of your life in which they meet you. So like if somebody comes along and they see, they just know you because they hear you on the radio all the time hosting these shows, or because they've come out and they've seen you on panels, or because you see what I'm saying? They see you writing these books. Nobody, they would be, wait, you used to sing? You see what I'm saying? And you're like, dude, before I was doing anything else, that's what I was doing. So how does it make you feel when people are surprised that you operate in a particular capacity when that might actually be your first love, so to speak?
Yeah, you're right. It's like people often are surprised because I think what I get from people all the time is if they find out you can sing or they discover your music, it's like, wait, you sing? Because what I've learned is people equate a slight bit of arrogance with people who can sing. Most of the times, most of us, if we know someone who can sing, they're going to make sure everyone in their circle
knows they can sing.
Is going to know. Like it could be, let's just say if you were the strong singer and I had a social gathering at my house and I invited you where you always, da, 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 they're like, okay, who is that singer? You always, listen, if my friend Keith, he gonna probably call me. I have a friend from Nashville, really great singer, Keith Floyd. I've known him for years, but Keith has this commanding great presence, and he has that Eddie Kane thing about him. And he's not afraid to sing. He's gonna go out there and do what he do, and that's gonna be that. But Keith is the type that it's been plenty of times where Keith have visited me from Nashville, and we'll be up here. This was earlier on, like let's just say he and I hanging out. We go somewhere to get something to eat. And don't let it be no ladies or anything by. He breaking out solos. I'm like, oh my God, he gonna let you know I can sing. That's him. He's not gonna be shy about nothing. So sometimes I think people, when you don't do that, people get thrown off by your gift. You know,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, if you don't throw it out in people's face, if you have more of a humility about it, people assume that you don't have a authority really over what it
correct.
is that you do. Like they feel like the only way that you must really know how to do whatever it is if
Yeah,
you're throwing it out in front of people all the time. And it's not necessary to be braggadocious, if you will,
yeah.
about your particular gift. For those of you who may just be tuning in, I am interviewing Charles Dixon, and we are kind of, as Fine 29 says, we are talking about the many facets of Deacon Charles. So,
That's right. That's funny. She's too funny. Huh?
so we're talking, and we're gonna transition in a moment.
Okay.
But it's a couple questions that's just burning
Oh
deep
no,
inside of
it's
me.
okay. Yeah, it's all
So
right.
you said you'll never forget when you first started singing that first song that you
Yeah,
sang. What was the
yeah.
name of the song? Do you remember it?
Um, to the utmost, Jesus saves, the whining song back in the day. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. So I didn't ask you this. You weren't prepped or nothing, and it's real rude to tell somebody no on their own show. But can we get like just a little? Can you just give us a little note, little hum,
Oh
just a
my
little line?
God. I've never did this, but man, um, falling in love with Jesus, falling in love with Jesus. Okay, that's it. No.
You better go ahead. You supposed to sing off the line. It's the best thing that I've ever done. Come on with it. Come
Hey,
on.
you did something I never did. Even Dr. Show didn't get me to sing. You know, you got me to sing. Oh, that's some.
You know.
This is an industry first. Okay, all
Man,
right.
man, I'm talking the collar I ain't even got right now. You see what I
It's
appreciate
funny.
that. Like,
All
but
right.
because you know what, it is really 529. I'm trying to tell you, I didn't know. I didn't know. But you have to, I think that when you're comfortable and confident in who you are, you don't always have to go around and brag about it,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Like we know in our industry, whether we're talking about the literary industry, the music industry, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. As an entrepreneur, holistically, you do have to let people know. However, it's not always necessary for you to go around and brag about it. Like I believe the Bible says that your gift will
We'll
make
make
room for you,
room.
right? So go ahead.
And here's another side of it. Here's an honest side of it. Another reason aside from humility is just sometimes it really is hard being a gifted person. Okay, you're tall, you're not bad looking. The more things that add to your plate, the more disliked you are. Just to be honest. And even in your male peer circle, it takes a
Mhm.
real brother to embrace other brothers that are different than him. Or you can just celebrate. Oh, I can say Robert Lee keep it 100. I love that about him. Bruce
Mhm.
Willis or whoever else in my circle, guys and men
Mhm.
that I peers, both spiritual and secular, that I don't have any problem giving them kudos on what it is. Great shoes, nice haircut, great suit. But not every
Mhm.
man will do that because why? So many of us are laced with so many insecurities. We want to be strong and on the outside and buff and tell you beat our chest. But to be honest, most men are fragile at best. They're very
Mhm.
fragile. They're put together like stones. But women don't understand the smallest words you can do to curtail a man's psyche. Because I always
Mhm.
tell people, men in most cases become the sum total of the woman he allows access in his ear. Whoever has his
Mhm.
ear has his productivity. And so
Yeah.
that's why we have to be careful with who you allow access to your life, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is awesome. And I love the fact that you dropped that nugget because, again, this is inspirational talk, but it is a powerful Black man session. And so, what I appreciate is dropping those nuggets because, as you and I have kind of conversed offline before, saying that many times in society, they already have in their mind who they think a Black man is. And the same thing with women. Many times, women don't invite men in their circles unless they're talking about a relationship,
For
right?
sure.
So they only want you
Something they need from you.
in circle if they
Right.
want your relationship advice or
Right.
they're
That's
trying
it.
to get with you in a
Correct.
relationship.
Correct. Correct.
So you have to understand that there's so much more to a man holistically
Yeah.
than just what his advice is or his opinion is about a particular
Never.
aspect
Right.
of a relationship. So
For
I
sure.
do want to now kind of transition. You talked earlier, you said about the gentleman that you switched songs with and how he said to you, you know,
Yeah.
it's great that we're doing this, but
Mhm.
at some point you need to release it.
Yeah.
That
He said,
was very reminiscent of a
okay.
conversation I think that you and I had
Yes.
because
About the book.
you know I'm going to talk to you at this book.
Yes. Yes.
Because,
You did.
okay, so for those of you who may have been under a rock and you either don't follow Charles or you've never seen what I deem as his Charles-isms, I'm like, we
Yes.
got to get
Yes.
you a book. Like,
Yeah.
because it's so much knowledge that you just drop just freely, and I don't even think that you're thinking about it being that
Right.
deep, right? Like,
Right.
I think for you it's so simple that it's profound, but a lot of things that you say is not just about how profound it is and not how intellectual it is, but it's inspirational. I
Yeah.
think that the way that you position your words are in a way that gives people to hear the same thing that they've heard before in a different way. They
Right.
receive it
Correct.
differently. So I
Right.
know, you know, that you've done some collaborations before,
Yeah.
but what I'm wondering is, you know, how much longer is the world going to have to wait before you actually drop your own project?
You know what? I'm going to tell you this. I have sat back and I have made convenient. It's not that some of the things aren't really true, like my world being really busy with a lot of things, but I think a lot of times all of that at some point becomes a convenient curtain to hide behind.
Mhm,
And so I
mhm,
think for me, again, it's that same musical approach. It's like, okay, I have these words to put in this book. Like I have like my notes. It's filled with just things for chapters, right? And
mhm,
so, but I have these
mhm.
things sitting here, and it's just like, okay. So when you release this on your own, it's just like it was fun. Like even though Coffee beat all of us to death to get the book out of us, even though
Right?
she herded us in to get the book done. I enjoyed the part of the reason I enjoyed it because it was the equivalent of singing in a group. I wasn't the
Yeah,
focal person. So it
yeah.
didn't take me no issue to write a chapter she gave me and said, go at it. So fine. But when it comes to you, not only is it totally vulnerable, but it's just all you. And so for me, I had to wrap my head around it because I know that it's something I can't avoid. And it's something I'm not going to lie and say it's something that I don't want to do because I do want to do it. And there are some things I think if I package them correctly, it's going to really bless people's lives. Like
Mhm,
from life to let's see, from life as like a, you know, just as a, I have one aspect of talking about how it is navigating life as a Black man in a professional world. That's one
mhm,
aspect. Then you
mhm,
have a father. Then you have in love. Then you have just you know, things that you can just help just being strong as a man and overcoming and how you are viewed in society. All those things as a whole. So it's a lot. So you people like you keep it at the forefront, and it's like I think you have one of the stronger presences of asking me about it because you're kind of sick because you don't do it a lot, but it's subtle.
mm-mm,
You're like, okay, what's going on? And then I have other people that I may come across here and there or in my circle, and they'll be like, okay, what's going on with this book? And so I said, okay, God, I'm not gonna. This keeps on resurfacing over and over, so I
mhm,
need to go ahead on and do it. But I'll give you a nugget. I'm the type person where I can crank it out, but here's the oxymoron. I'll tell you I need the help, and I want you to help facilitate me to do it. Give me the timelines, the tracks, and all this. But
mhm,
then I have that struggle with complying. So I have to say, okay, you can't be stubborn. If you're gonna
mhm,
agree to the structured timeline, then just jump in there and do it and get it done. So yeah, I
mhm.
want to avail myself to be open to go ahead and walk into it.
But you know what? A lot of times, since we're talking about men, I
Yeah,
won't say that it's not women, but we're talking about men on this show. A lot
right.
of men are like that. A lot of
Yeah,
men have a hard time accepting help
yeah,
because it's like, I know how to do it, you know,
yeah,
and even if you don't necessarily know how to do it, whatever
yeah,
the it is,
yeah.
because you know how to operate in so many different facets of your life, then
Right.
it's like, well, this can't be that much more difficult. So, or or how hard can this be? So I think sometimes you may underestimate the process. And so it's like, because it's that I am man mentality, then you may be less likely to receive that assistance. Do you feel that that's how it is with you specifically, or is that just generically how it may tend to be?
I think it's pretty close for sure. And and here's another side of it. Sometimes, and I've learned this over the years, it's like I don't have no problem doing anything with anyone. But what I don't like is sometimes you'll do things and a person will herd you into a corner just to take all of your credit. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like
Oh, I
just
know exactly what you're
they'll
saying.
tell you, "Come on over here and just do this," and then all of a sudden, yeah, he did it because I told him to do it. It's just like, listen,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
just understand that
Mhm.
you could be humble enough to be a conduit in someone's life without having to steal everything about it. You understand what I'm saying? There's
Mhm.
not a lot of people
Mhm.
out here like that. You know.
No, absolutely. And it's when you're going into business, again, regardless of what type of business it is. So we talked about you as a singer and a producer, songwriter, and then also as an author. Like, when you are putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself out there in multiple facets. So it's not just, like you said, it's not just me as this person, but it's also me connected to other people. So now, I have to make sure that, am I networking properly? Do I have the right people on my team?
Yeah.
Are the people that's in my circle, are they here because they're truly Team Charles, or
Yeah.
are they here because they
Team
see?
opportunist.
Come on.
Yeah.
So
Right.
have you been exposed to, or had to deal with opportunities in your
Oh.
walk thus far? And if so, how do you deal with them?
So I was, as you were talking, I was thinking of a situation on the musical side of things. I remember when I was singing in this group and we were recording. Now at the time we were budding artists and we were in an environment with artists that were sort of established. They were, and so these guys, to be honest, they weren't any better than us. But I mean,
Mhm.
they were good. We were good, but they
Mhm.
were on a platform. We were trying to get
Mhm.
there. So
Mhm.
I'll never forget seeing this one particular guy that I knew away out of that group. This is a group that's kind of out of the DC area. And people gonna be like, who? But anyway, let's just say this. The group
You
has
already
the word,
know how to
group
know.
has the word, the group has the word soul in it, and it's some men. But make a long story, here's the thing. I remember us being in a parking lot and we were some of us were in my car. We were outside of a studio and we were, the song Trouble in My Way.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we put a spin on it that was really nice the way we had arranged it. And so we put a spin on it and we had just recorded it and we were in the car playing it. Now, mind you, this other group was working on their album. They were almost done. They working on their album. Do you know the lead singer came over there? He was like, "Man, this is good. Who is this? Is y'all?" He's encouraging us. This is good. Blah blah
Okay.
blah. And he kept saying, "This is what I learned." He kept saying, "Play that back again. Do that again. Play that." He's like, "Oh man, don't you
Don't say
know?"
that he's gonna do it.
That album came out and the song was on the album. I
Oh
learned
my.
something that day. So that's like from that moment. See, my job by day, I work in the legal enforcement of copyrights, trademarks, and patents. So at that moment, I was like, oh, you ain't gonna catch me slipping again. So from that moment,
Mhm.
I locked down my entire portfolio of anything I wrote or arranged because
Mhm.
people are vultures, and so it's no different in literary world. You
Yep.
write and got all these chat, people will steal your stuff quick. So
Yep.
you gotta be wise about it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And especially, and I want to say this really quickly, a lot of people are now jumping into doing anthologies, because that is, I mean, I offer anthologies as well. So that, I'm not saying that doing an anthology is not a good opportunity, but
Right.
what I am saying, to your point, is that you always want to be careful how your work is being used.
Yeah.
Make sure that you read the fine print.
Right.
Don't always assume that because this is somebody that I know, that they must do it, they're going to do
Yeah.
it the right way.
Yeah.
Because a
You're
lot
right.
of times, as you said, many times in whatever the industry is, people typically look out for number one. And so
Correct.
it's very seldom when you meet somebody like yourself, like myself,
Yeah.
who are more concerned about the overall good of the project. So if I got to take a L because this is how you going to be, or I just take it as learning it the hard way, you ain't got to worry
Right.
about getting over on me again. But
Right.
the average person isn't like that. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure, I tell authors all the time, yes, you do want to shop. If you're looking for an editor, they can't quote you blindly. So they're
No,
gonna
for
need to
sure.
see it. However, you want to make sure have it already copywritten. So
That's
that
it.
way, if if they go to look at it, or you look up and somebody else got your exact same wording, you have proof that this was mine.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really like
Yeah, it's a
a
lot of
great.
things. When you do these things, like I said, they're fun and I enjoy it and things like that. But at the same time, if you're just willy nilly and you're not educated on what you're doing, oh, it's a lot of legalities that'll just wrap you around up and X you out of the equation, and you just wasted your time and energy. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? While the other
Yep.
person benefits. So you got to
Yep.
be smart and wise about it. You know. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So, for those of you who are just tuning in, I have been spending this last half hour talking to Mr. Charles Dixon, who serves in a variety of capacities, but we've kind of settled down in talking about him as a singer, and we even got a little snippet of him singing. If y'all missed that, you're
Oh,
going to have to be kind and rewind and play it back. And then we talked about him and his upcoming projects that at some point before the year 2030, those projects will be those good
2022.
projects
We're
will be out.
speaking into existence. Next year,
Look, I
2022.
ain't gonna
All
put
right.
you under the gun. I'll just say before
Yeah.
2030. So
Yeah.
therefore, when they pop out, people would know that you're working on some
Right.
stuff.
For
I
sure.
want to thank Miss Celestine, who has been sharing this and tagging folk, and then everybody else who is watching. Thank you all so much. Take the time to like and share this video. But what we want to do is we're really just kind of sitting and talking about just talking to a black man, right? A powerful black
Yes.
man, to give you all, number one, understand that all black men are not doing something illegal.
Right.
All black men are not doing something, bad, and they no
Yeah.
good, and they this and that
Right.
and the
Right.
third. So that's with me when I do inspirational talk or anything that I do, I'm always trying to bring a positive light. And then we're just kind of giving you some insight into him and who he is. And so on this final segment, Charles, I want to
Okay.
kind of talk about what people may know you more for, and that is for being the talk show host of Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. So
Right.
tell us, like, when did you first start that? What gave you the inspiration to not just start that show, but that particular name?
So I'll tell you. So I remember. So I've known Dr. Cheryl for some years. She, when I met her years ago, when I was living back in the DMV area, when I was first coming out with my music back then, she had got wind of my music, I guess, on some of these stations in New York. And so she reached out and we connected. And so she was more music. She was kind of a lot into music back then. And so she was just like, hey, like she kind of approached it from like a management perspective. She was kind of helping do things like that. And so back then, so we had always kept in touch because even then we were talking about, like, we would bring up relationship issues, whether it was something that she had dealt with or me, we would discuss them and laugh and give advice and things like that. And so fast forward years later, she reached out to me in 2017, maybe earlier, maybe like sometime around May. And she says, hey, I'm working on a book now. It's called His Heart, Her Voice. And
Okay.
she says, and I'm going to I'm going to follow up to the release of the book by doing a 1-month series called Man Cave Conversations. And so she said, I'm going to have men, all types of men, pastors, this, that, and the other, just not just church men, but just men in general. And it's going to be sort of where you guys are giving me access to come in while you tell us the jewels that us women may not otherwise know. And she asked questions and things like that. So I'll tell you, she asked me to be on the show, and I promise you, this was back in like 2017, and I was super nervous. And I'll tell you why.
Really?
I'm gonna be honest. So I'm no stranger to the female community, right? So okay, I'll just say this. So back in my troublesome exploits, sometimes there's a way to hide behind the wall and deal exploits underground and railroad and all these things. But
when you come out,
when you come out, you come to surface. And this is how I envisioned it. I didn't mind ducking down, talking and laughing like this. But when I stand up and when I'm up in the platform, now you're on the firing line.
yep.
Now you can get fired at will. And it's just like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm ready for this. So she was like, it'll be fine. Just try it. And I was like, so I remember doing the first show and being extremely nervous. And I can tell Dr. Cheryl this now and she'll forgive me later. But on the show, on our first show, she kept telling everybody, like and share. I liked it, but I didn't share. I didn't put it on my page. I was like, no, That's okay. I don't want all these crazy comments. So I just didn't share it at first. But after that, like I enjoyed the first show so much that I ended up kind of being like an honorary guest on it most of that month. It was like, and so it kind of lit a fire in me because I found something I really, really enjoyed and it came natural. And so after that month, it was just like, no, I was like, the fire is brewing. I can't stop now. And so that's when I made contact with urban broadcast up in Bronzeville, where Walter and Michelle and all those are. And so and when I started doing my show there, once I had initiated and signed the deal to do the show there, I said, okay, well, now I got to come up with a name. And so what is it can best represent you? And I said, okay, I think if nothing else, I know I have a unique perspective, right? And so that's why I said I'll call it Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. And I initially said perspectives because I knew I was going in it with like a group mindset, like inviting others.
Yes.
I didn't just one thing I've learned out here I see now is you'll find a great speaker, whether it's a female or a male. And what I've always learned, and this is how I see it, you'll have, well, I'll bring up the one guy, and I'm not going to say it in a negative way, but the guy, Dirk Jackson, perfect example. The popular guy, and he made his whole living saying, if your man's doing this, he's no good. If your man told you this, leave him alone. If he's this, he's not married to you. All these things, right? Which, to be honest, he was saying some true things. However, the way I always looked at it is, I used to always say, unless he has this huge stable to keep all these women that he's turning against men in, it does no good to the relationship body, because the men aren't like, you're helping the women, you're waking them up, but you're keeping the men asleep. So unless there's a platform, and now this is the guy, Kevin Samuels, he kind of does the same, but he does it opposite, where he's looking out for the men, but he's going at the women, which is okay. I get it. We're switching the sides, but in order to help both sides to bring wholeness, you have to talk to the woman, you have to talk to the man, you have to bring these situations together, or else they're going to leave off. The men going to say, yeah, I'm going to the other side now, to the other race, because these black women are no good. So at the end of the day, what's the point if we're not making it holistic? So that's my only thing. Like, they're great speakers, they're doing their thing, and even some of the women, but it's like, unless we're corralling these people together in the same fashion, it's not going to do us any good,
That's awesome. And like one of my mantras is, we are better together.
For sure.
And that's holistically as a human race, right? Like no man is an island unto himself. And so you have to know how to be able to coexist with people. But like you said, because for me, and I know I might get blasted for this, but I was never really a huge fan of Derek Jackson, because for me, and again, I'm not bashing him, and we're not finna turn this into this show, but just saying in general, I could see, as being somebody who's in this industry, I understood what his game was. You know what I'm saying? Like you knew that it was all an end result. Like he's identified his target market. When you go into business, first thing they tell you is know your audience. So he came out knowing who his audience was. He understood that if I'm talking to broken women, then if that is who my market is, then I'm going to make a lot of money. Because why? When you look at it, somebody is always in a relationship, number one. So just generically speaking, then you niche down. So I'm going to target relationships, then I'm going to target messed up relationships, then I'm going to hit the ones that really are, because men don't come out as much talking about, I mean, not all the time, but they're not really talking about how vulnerable they are, how hurt they got, and this, that, and the third. So he basically niched down, and it was a smart business move.
Yeah, for sure.
You could tell. Again, for me, it just didn't click. It didn't resonate as being sincere. It was like you could tell that his whole point of being on here is just he's saying everything that a woman wants to hear. And I'm the type of person, I don't believe in gender roles. I've always said that. And so the point just is that right is right and wrong is wrong, period. The same way that I don't feel like that, all men are dogs. I don't feel like that all women are righteous. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like both people are people,
issues.
regardless of
issues.
Come on. And so, like, when the whole thing came out with his little scandal, I honestly felt bad for him, because I'm like,
I don't think he was ready for that onslaught. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, people unfortunately they put other people on pedestals.
Right.
Like they decide, okay, well, since I follow him, then that must means that he's holy, that he don't do anything bad. I mean, and obviously it would be good if you aligned with your brand, if you're doing
Right.
all of this stuff, talking about how righteous you should be, how you should treat women. One would think that that's how you treat your woman, right?
Yeah.
But I honestly, for half a millisecond, I felt bad, not for
Yeah.
him, but you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah,
like
no, the
because
thought of it, like nobody would want to experience that. Like it's like
Mhm.
no matter your game, your mantra, at the end of the day, it's there's something about when it's time to reap. It's not a
Yep,
good feeling, and it's like when it
yep,
comes at you, you like And so when on that whole situation, I would say I don't know about anyone else can attest to it, but it's like during that time, it was like for that moment when that thing happened, it was as if an explosion happened in the world of love
it is.
because it discouraged and broke a lot of women's trust
Yep.
because I don't care what no man's most guys if you were in relationships, even if you were married dating, most men have received a text with a post from Derek Jackson. Yeah, a girlfriend goes, you know what? Look at this. See what he said? I knew it. And you
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
So anyway, so
yeah,
every man has experienced it. So of course you had the men laughing when it all came. They was like, see
yep.
there, and so the
I
women
knew
were
he
like,
wasn't no good. Yeah.
ah. But you know what I learned from that, and what I learned from just now, it's like he exposed something, and Kevin Samuels exposed something. I'll tell you. Derek Jackson, to me, it exposed. And I said, why are our women, meaning the black women, why are our women so pieing at the mouth for anything watery and juicy that can support their cause? And well, it seemed like our race was the only one mostly being this
Hmm.
victim, so to speak. And so
Hmm.
being able to be, because a lot of these men or people that are moving in these facets, I don't understand why they always target the black woman. And I know the black woman is supportive and she's a proponent of this, that, and the other. But I said to myself, I think they target the black woman because she's the biggest proponent of hope. Other races, other races don't go by the hope mantra. They're like, my dad gave me a will. Johnny knows
Hmm.
I'm rich and he's going to marry me. Or I'm going to
Hmm.
go to the golf club and I'm going to be set up and introduced. I'm going to have a great life and be rich. Black
Hmm.
women, on the other hand, it hasn't always been our story. It's like
Hmm.
JoJo got to get old and have gout, lose his feet, then he's going to get married,
I can't stand.
or you're at the church and
I can't stand.
the pastor put the fear of God in you and say, now you're gonna live holy in this church or get out. So you get married that way, or you got the man, who's so physically infatuated with a woman that he just marries her off
Just because.
carnality, not just that he
Yep.
loves her or want to be with her.
Legalized
He just
fornication.
feel like she a Coca-Cola bottle and she's better than
Yep.
your wife, so I'm gonna marry her. So
Yep.
that's it. And so we don't have that traditional backing as males where men say, listen, you married Toneal because she's a phenomenal woman. Don't ask all these questions. Just be with her,
Hmm.
spend time, treat her nice,
Hmm.
and build you a family. We didn't. A lot of us didn't have that. And I'm not saying there weren't some great examples of great fathers and men and in church and out of church that were like stand up men that raised families and did good. But
Hmm.
the majority of this was the opposite. It was like men
Hmm.
where we were out in the street. You heard all these streetisms. Oh, don't let them get you. Then you ain't gonna be
Hmm.
soft. Don't cry.
Hmm.
Don't be all soft and get married. Oh, he look at him. He's signing his life away. All these
Hmm.
mantras that we
Hmm.
hear as men that make us feel we have to stand on the outside of a woman in order to enjoy
Hmm.
her. Because if you get in her face, you're gonna get the Delilah effect. So that's where it's kind of a thing where it kind of has bruised us. And I think over time, even now, the music doesn't help. Now the music, it's like the music has put the women in a trance, and so it's almost like the women that's the music that's degrading them. They love to dance and listen to, and it's funny,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it's really furthering his cause to put his foot further on your neck, and it
Yep.
shouldn't be that way. But that's the way it's shaping, and we're just like the women are like the meat objects. How come everybody got to have everything you see on TV, boxing match, a naked woman go walk around the stage? This one, woman. This and over video, woman. Everything is the woman being
Yep.
put on trial, on display. And I'm just like, they weren't brought here for this. And I know, listen, most of us, if we're honest, most of us men have not only hurt women, we still hurting them today. We have done things. We have cheated, lied. We have led them on, sold them a dream that we didn't make good on. I remember this lady at a church back home. She was married. She was not married, but she was living with this guy. She loved church, but she was living with this guy at home for 20 years. And he was her man for 20 years, but he never married her. And I always tell people it's a fine line when it comes to that, because I think women look at it as I'm loyal and I'm his ride or die. So 15 years later, I love him. And that's great, because all men would want a woman that's ride or die. But the unfortunate side of it is, the other side of it is he's saying, yeah, you say it's ride or die. I say it's ride stupid. Because if I was you, I wouldn't do it. So you know what I'm saying? And so she goes from, I said this before, she goes from being the love of your life to the trusted friend for life. I've shifted you to being the trusted friend for life, no longer the romantic choice for my life. And so that's the danger of when women pedo paddle with time with men. It's like it's a fine line. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you could want something from a man that you really do need to wait for. Like, he could be a good man. He might have some issues, but he's just not ready to be your husband yet. And so it depends on how you handle that with him, how you deal with him, but don't necessarily write him off and be like, oh, you know what, you're not serious. No, you would rather him not marry you in folly and then marry you when he's prepared. You don't want any man to marry you just because you think he's going to be a good suitor, and then he comes out and he's with you, and now he ripping your life apart because you couldn't wait. So you understand what I'm saying?
Man, Charles, let me tell you something. Well, first, let me read this. Found 29 said that Don Cheadle didn't marry his wife till after 27 years. That's a good God bless you, okay? That's a good
I'm
God
telling
bless
you.
you. Hello, Miss Kanita. But here's the thing. You were asking earlier about Black women, and I think what it is, and this is not to, I'm not talking about any other women. This isn't to say that any other ethnicity this doesn't apply to, but with Black women, a lot of times there are, whether it's daddy issues because they didn't grow up knowing their father, so they're just looking for that man, that male figure in their life. A lot of times it's low self-esteem, for whatever the reason is. So just knowing that they have a man, even if he ain't a good man, it's like it must say something about me, because at least I got a man. So that's how come you will see a lot of women that's willing to share a man. They know that they man out with 15 other women, you know, but it's like,
it's like a piece is better than nothing.
A piece is better than, because there's such a level of low self-esteem. And again, ask me how I know. Like, when you don't love yourself, then you don't really know how to stand firm to demand that from other people, right? So it's like when you carry yourself, if you're broken, you're gonna attract broken people. And so a lot of times, like even what you're saying, like with these men who are doing all of this, a lot of times they're broken themselves, and so they're doing what they know that they can do and what they can get away with. And so whether we're talking about women in relationships or listening to the relationship coaches, we're looking for that happily ever after. So if we get a man that's feeding us that line, so whether it's through the Derek Jacksons or Kevin Samuels, whether it's through like just your own, if you make me feel like that there is a such thing as happily ever after, I'm there. Because I think also there's a loyalty in us where we want to have somebody that is worth having. We want somebody that we can help build.
Be proud to have on our shoulder.
You know what I'm saying? And I think honestly that's biblical. Like, God created us to be nurturers. God created us to be supportive. And so it's like we want somebody that we're able to support. And like 529 says, she said that it's fine that they'll settle. And a lot of women will. Celestine says most ladies are looking for that male figure to protect them, something they may have never had when they were children. Absolutely.
And here's the other part of it. One of the most dangerous thing about being in relationships, and heck, even being married with low self-esteem, because the worst thing you can do is allow a man to teach you how to love you, because he's going to teach you how to love you according to what he needs. And that's going to, in most cases, that's going to drain you, and you're not going to be able to love yourself accordingly. So you have to fight to love yourself. Yeah, you can be a good woman and show him how great you are, but you better have that
Mhm.
reserved for you. Because if you don't,
Mhm.
all your love is going to be wrapped up in the way he wants you to cater to him, and you're going to be looking crazy. And so the other part I was going to add real quick about the Kevin Samuels, what I learned from him and how all of these men love what he's doing. And I said, another thing, the reason why the men are rallying behind him is because he's doing what most of us fail to do, and that is communicate our feelings. He's
Mhm.
telling women straight to their face, cutting them down like a chopping the tree down. He's like, who you think you are? This is not this and that. He's talking to them like straight up like this. And that tells
Mhm.
me, I said, wow, a lot of men are in marriages and relationships, and they're simply dealing and accepting what's being requested. And it's not that there has to be a war, but if you're not comfortable with something in your life or your relationship, it
Yep.
behooves you to talk about it. So
Yep.
don't get behind another man that talks about it, because he's not going to your house. So
Come
the
on.
thing is, he might make sense and sound good with his suits and everything, but nonetheless, you better be able to say, yeah, I like what he's saying, but I need to be a man to be able to just speak my piece and speak my life about how I see things if I choose to want to be revered as the head or a head, or
Absolutely.
however you want to call it. I know today there's a lot, you can't even say head no more. It's like they want two heads, so you can't even say the man the head. He can't be recognized as a head no more. He's just a peon. So it's just like, wow. But anyway, that's where we are, you know.
But you telling the truth though. You are
Yeah.
telling the truth. And I appreciate you coming on. If you guys are just tuning in, I've been talking to Charles Dixon, singer, author, radio host. He does it all, y'all. He
All
does it
right.
all. And so we just kind of sum it up and call him a powerful black man. And
Appreciate
in these last few minutes, Charles, I want to kind of go through three quick things.
you. Okay.
One, no, it's two quick things.
Okay.
One, what is a common misconception that you feel that most people make about black men in general? And then what is a common misconception that you feel that most people make in regards to you specifically?
Mm. One thing I think is a huge misconception with black um, men is that like you said earlier, they all are dogs and this, that, and the other. Granted, yes, we have some terrible actions, but the other side, what people always forget to acknowledge, is that men only do what they're allowed. So
That's
you
good.
can't make a blanket statement about men unless you check what you allow. If you're
Mhm.
that person that you know what you're not allowing, then 9 out of 10, you're gonna say, "Yeah, I heard he did that to Toneal, but he ain't doing it to me because
Mhm.
my standard gate is that strong." So men
Mhm.
in general, heck, people in general will walk over you if you let them. If somebody coming around somebody, it don't matter about just men, but most people will make a victim out of you if you don't make a champion out of yourself. They're gonna come and mow you down. That's just what it's gonna be. And so for me, I think one of the biggest misconceptions people make, I've heard so many times, and I'm not going to say I don't understand, but I heard so many times, "Oh, I don't think you want to get married." And it's a huge misconception. I love love. Actually, I'm very relational minded, and yeah, I might be guarded at times. I may do this, that, and the other, stray over here, and all these things. But trust me, there's a rhyme to my reason to everything I do. I'm calculated
Mhm.
about everything I do. So, making a long story short, when it comes to that, to me, yes, I want to enjoy that entity and that union like the next man that appreciates it. It's just that I have learned from being on the B side of love. I've learned a lot. So I'm very circumspect about how I enter into that, because I've seen the ugly of the ugliest from those who it shouldn't have come from. And so for me,
Mhm.
it maybe
Mhm.
has jaded me a little bit, but I fight with not making that my story. But I'm by no means am I ignorant to what it really is out here. And you got to be wise. I mean, I really get it when it said, when the word was like, when you find if a wife, you find a good thing, because he's
Yeah.
telling us even back then it's scarce. You might find a body, you might find a human, you might find a female, but finding a wife is scarce. And so people have to
Mm.
understand that. You can have anybody lay in your bed with you and keep you warm, or heck, I can go out here tomorrow and walk down the street or do whatever and say, "Hey, I'm serious about marriage, and I want you to know that I'm interested in you." And the average woman, if you come correct, "Oh my God, girl, he came to me, and you know what? I'm gonna let you meet him on Friday," and she gonna go with the game, and he can just sell her story and be at a wedding in 6 months, just that easy.
Mhm.
Most women are ready
Mhm.
for that, but I just don't want to. I've done the game things, and yes, sometimes it tries to keep attached to me, but I don't want to. I really don't want that life. And so
Mm.
I just think people should get to know you for who you are, as opposed to just assuming what you do and don't want to do. You know what I'm saying?
I think that is awesome.
Yeah.
And before I end this, I would be remiss. I have to pose to you this question
Okay.
that Celestine asks. She says, "What if the person is a narcissist?" So, like, how do when you're dealing with a person that is a narcissist, how do you when you're dating a narcissist? How do you deal with it? Or even if you're
Well,
married
but
to
this is what
one?
I would say. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with this, because I always say, whenever I hear this name so much running around in the world, and I say, well, first of all, what would qualify you, not necessarily her, but what would qualify you to know what a narcissist is? Because it's probably 9 times out of 10, a narcissist does not mean somebody who just doesn't treat you right or comply with the way you want life to be lived. Narcissist is way more developed than that, than what this person
Mhm.
is. And so at the end of the day, I think we have, unfortunately, we fell into a world where we label what we can't control or understand. And so it's either toxic,
Mhm.
it's narcissist, you're this, that, and the other. And sometimes, listen, sometimes people are egotistical and they're conceited because you allow it. It's just that
Mhm.
simple. They don't have to be a narcissist to be somebody who, again, who will mow you over if you let them. And so, and
Mhm.
then sometimes, ladies, sometimes men just aren't interested. Period. It don't mean he's anything other than this. And last I remember, in order to have a strong toxin in anything, it takes 2 chemicals. So that means if he's toxic, you toxic too. So you can't just keep on blaming, saying all these things. It takes two to stink. So you gotta just be keep it 100 with that, and just let's stop looking for titles. Because if now I'll answer this question: if you have a narcissist, 9 times out of 10, ain't nothing you can do with him. He's
Mhm.
going to be dealt with his own self. You can't do nothing with him. So either you gonna be his flank woman, or you're gonna just see him from a distance. But that's about
Mhm.
it. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yep. And to that point, and if the person, if you're married to a narcissist, because I know about
Yeah,
that too.
yeah,
Like, I mean, we've all
yeah.
been,
Been there in this kind of
you
situation.
know what I'm saying? Like, that is one of those situations, like you say, if God don't change it, it ain't gonna be changed, because
Yeah,
those are not just like it's not something as simple to just change, because this is a pattern of behavior that has developed probably for a lifetime. So
yeah.
that's not gonna just change overnight or within the
And,
next
and I
couple.
think, and everybody who learns, as we learn the lesson, one hard lesson you have to learn: you don't just discover a narcissist. You just
Mm.
didn't hear it when you was busy checking off your list. You was
Ooh,
busy
I'm
falling in
gonna
love.
be
He didn't just become a narcissist 3, 4 years
you
later.
didn't
You just woke up
recognize
and said, "Oh my God, you a narcissist." No, he's whatever he is. He's been. It's just been
it.
covered by your desire. That's what it is. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, look, hold on, because I was trying to let this go, but
Right.
look, I have to say this. I would be
Right.
remiss if I didn't say it, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. It goes back to what I was talking about with that brokenness, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, as you say, people typically are who they are. But
Yeah.
if you're so messed up, you're not really
Able to
paying
recognize it.
attention. One of two things
Yeah.
is happening. Either you're not able to see it because you're so caught up in yourself and your brokenness,
Right.
or you don't even have the same perspective, right?
Right.
Your vision being broken versus your vision when you're healed is two
The
different
different
things.
things.
You don't
You
see
hear you
things.
hear differently, you see differently, and you accept differently. So
Absolutely.
that esteem level that you're at, that's why we have to be honest and say, we know, if we're honest, we know when we off our center, we know when we weak, we know when we're not in a good place to really entertain anyone. However,
Mhm.
we're so selfish, and we don't want to be alone, that we will take somebody and just hope they won't mishandle you
Ooh,
when you know that you're not ready to handle anybody. But we say to ourselves, well,
but I don't want to be
said,
alone.
he said he got me. And let me tell you something. In this day, there is a strength coming from the bed. Folks are compromising everything just to have a piece of leg beside them, a
Ooh.
body or arm draped over me. I don't care if you my man, I don't care if you her husband. Just give me my slice of what I need, and then you can go do what you do. That's where this thing is. The people are so, everybody is so hyper concerned about being lonely and attention. Man, let me tell you, I hope the ladies see this. I see so many stories that I don't understand. Where these, it's like I be saying, what's happening with the sisters? All I see nowadays is this. And I'm sitting here, it's all these pictures. It's like you're showing your breasts. You're all over here. You're getting up in the mirror. I'm like, okay, do you want a relationship or do you want a meat experience? MEAT. Because the thing of it is, it's going to be one or the other. You're not, if you showing a man, I don't care how nice you are aside from that. If you lead with your body, that's what he's going to approach with. He's not going to approach you and say, you know, Toneal, I so love the way you write those books and those glasses, so intellectual. No, he's going to be like, hey, man, she thick as a mother. I can't wait to take her out on Friday so I can try her. He's not thinking about none of your backdrop, your career, none of that. Women get misconceptions. We're not thinking about if we're not leading that way, we're not thinking about your job, your credit score, where you live, your child. We just want an opportunity. So the way you get a man to avoid an opportunity is to present a challenge.
Come on.
Don't present easy. Present a challenge. Then you will get him going to class. He's gonna go to school with you because you presented a challenge. But if you present meat, chest, hips, thighs, as much as we love it, yes, it's great. We are visual, but if you give us that alone, we're gonna rummage through it, and it's gonna be a plate full of bones left.
Man, look ahead. Now I was trying to avoid this, but I just have to bring it back up. Well, not back up, but bring it up. When you're talking about all of that, it automatically in my head throws out the Nicki Minaj's, the Megan Thee Stallion, like all of these, right? Because it's Cardi B, all of them. And again, let me say this: as a woman, I am never tearing down another woman or hating on somebody's hustle. However, to your point, when society, because we were talking about how society looks at men, but when society makes it that this is how you have to look in order to get a man, right? Like now, no, society has not, because sometimes what I wonder is, who is society polling? Who, like, according to whose society, this is what men want? Because again, you then have to question, what type of man is that if that's the type of woman that he wants? If all I want is somebody that basically looks like a porn star, somebody that, you know, just for their body, then what type of man am I? You see what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, because mostly all of the men that I know are like guys that's like, okay, yeah, I might look at a minute, maybe compliment here and there, but in general, when I'm talking about long term, when I'm talking about somebody I'm thinking about wifing, when I'm talking about somebody I'm wanting to bring home to my mom, that ain't never gonna be what makes it. And I think that if society, whoever society is, this is why it's so important for women to be able to have their own mindset and have their own level of positive self-esteem, because that way I know that, you know what, whether I'm dressed covered up, so if I'm modest or not, like what I want him to see is who I am intellectually. I can't be mad at you for being attracted to me physically if all I show you is my body and I never show you my mind. You see what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we got it. That's what I'm saying. We have to get past that place, because unless we do like the Megans of the world and all these other artists that kind of lead with the body, they have managed to corner a market. It's not an untruth that men are visual. That's just the bottom line. But they have captured the visual mindset of men. So this is why the men are like, it's almost like if you're not presenting yourself like them, you're antiquated. This is the era of nothing on at all. What's your problem with all that garb to church? Strip it all down. This is the era we in. So it's because the women that are on top are leading the way. The Cardi B's, they're leading the way with next to nothing. And and nowadays you look, when it's hot outside, there was a day back in the day when they was like just basic Daisy Dukes, and it was just like they were short, but there was like some imagination. Nowadays, these women are outside. The shorts is cut, half of their whole cheek is out, the other half to the top, and it's just like we might as well just be naked. Like, so I'm just like, what is all this coming from, and what do you kind of think is gonna? I mean, look, people. I guess there's love coming in different forms and facets, but just from what I know and experiencing with different things, if you show men these things, it's going to be hard for him to think any other way about you other than what he's trying to do, because it's wired in us from the pulpit to the hard hat construction workers. It's wired in us to desire the physicality of a woman, but it don't have
Mm-hmm.
to end there. We
Mm-hmm.
still admire beauty. We still admire intelligence. We still admire a great mother. So you have to be able to capture those other sides of him for him to take you serious. Perfect example, Cardi B. She had the Offset guy from the Migos, and he came and he was like, "Yeah, I got her." But as usual, as high up as she was, he cheated right on her and kept it moving. And then coming back and forth. But the point I'm making is, just you stripping alone and being naked ain't gonna keep a man. He
Yeah.
he gonna sample you and keep it moving. So yeah.
And we're gonna let it,
Right,
we gonna end that with that.
right.
So Charles, I have so enjoyed this conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime we talk, it's
I like off
always a
the
good
cuff. It was good.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just what we do. We just
Right.
have this type of conversation. Do you have anything that is coming up that you want for the listeners to know about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on some things in the background, some literary things, like you say. I am doing some writing in the background, slowly but surely. But other than that, at the center right now, on Sundays at 2 p.m., I have the show I do on Gospel Impact Radio, and that's Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then doing on Tuesday nights and Thursday, sometimes I do with the I do unscripted on another station that I advertise as well. Yes.
Okay. And they can just follow
Yeah.
you on Facebook, right?
Correct. Yeah. On Instagram, it's I am Charles Dixon. So I am Charles Dixon, Dixon, all one word. Yeah.
And I'm doing a horrible job,
It's all
at
right.
typing this right now. But
Right.
yeah, so
I can share
yeah,
something. I'll share some stuff on you. I'll
yeah,
post something on my page.
definitely do that. So that way, any of you guys, if you are not already following Charles, please feel free to do so. But again, Charles, I want to thank you so much. I was trying to be mindful of your time and
No, that's
only take
okay.
an hour, but
Right.
we just started talking, and
Right.
next thing you know, it's a little bit longer.
That's
But
okay. Yeah,
for
I'll post my music link too. People want to check it out.
go ahead.
All right. No, I said I'll post that too. All right.
Okay.
All right.
But for everybody that tuned in, I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tagging people. And again, make sure that you are subscribed to, well, follow me on Facebook. And then I also have a channel that is, or a page, Educated and Empowered. Follow that fan page so that way you are notified whenever new videos become available. But my lineup, my live at 5 Mondays, we are doing aspects of entrepreneurship. So if there are any authors, aspiring authors, or entrepreneurs that's out there, that is the day that you are going to want to tune in. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do inspirational talk. On Tuesdays, I'm talking to women, and on Thursdays, I'm talking to men. And then on Friday, like tomorrow, is Educated and Empowered. And so tomorrow, I'm actually going to be, I have a relationship focus, and my topic is who sets the standards for relationship goals. We always hear
Mm.
these relationship goals.
Yeah.
So what we're going to kind of discuss is who sets the standards for them.
Right.
So in either case, I want to just thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, you guys can go ahead, visit the website. If you want to know more about me, you can visit the website. My name is Toneal.com. You'll
The
find
book
out about
lady.
me.
The book
Yeah,
lady.
I'm the book lady. Look, wait, but look,
All
Charles,
right.
on my intro, in my bio, I
Yeah.
said that I am affectionately known as the
The
book
book
lady. Like
lady.
so
Yeah.
many people call me the book lady. So I'll take it. I'll take it. I
Yeah.
can be called
Right.
worse, right?
Right.
But in either case, thank you guys so much. And again, don't forget to like and share this video. And join me tomorrow live at 5 for Educated and Empowered, where we will be talking about some relationship stuff. So
Right.
tune in then. Thank you
All
guys
right.
so much. And
Thank
until
you.
next time, you guys stay inspired.